Good morning, Deed Grabbers. Uh, Welcome to Goat Talk. Do you want 2022 to be the year that you really make a difference in your real estate investing? Maybe you're a new investor. Maybe you've been trying to get into it for several years and just haven't really uh, made the break, made the difference. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some things that can make a difference in your real estate investing. So, you guys hang around. We'll be here in just a second. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to Goat Talk this morning. Jody and I are actually in Bakersfield, California, living it up
Yep.
in Bakersfield. Welcome to Goat Talk for January 13th, 2022. What is Goat Talk? Well, if you're new to Goat Talk, this is just where we get together for 1 hour a week. We usually bring someone on. Today, you're stuck with us.
Yeah.
But today we're going to talk about the changes that you need to make in your real estate investing to really make this year the year that you make a difference. Listen, if you're on here with us this morning on Facebook or YouTube, tell us who you are, say good morning, and let us know where you're at. Hey, Jeff.
I'm not sure who a Facebook user is, but
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about being Mrs. Goat. Depends on how you.
Yeah. Well,
It's actually probably a compliment, but
hey, Sarah, good to see you. Vincent's here from Southern California. Listen, we made it as far down California as we could. I don't know, stand it. I don't know. California's not too bad. Bakersfield's been okay. We stopped.
yeah, Bakersfield has been great.
Yeah, we stopped here to do just a little bit of work. Facebook users, if you're on Facebook, make sure that you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and click a couple of buttons so we'll know who you are, so we can say good morning to you. Hey, Gail. Gail's in Western Massachusetts. Hey, Reenie's here this morning. We know that you're in Colorado.
I know that. We met Reenie a couple times.
Yeah. Cindy in Central Mississippi. Yep. Okay. Good to see you guys today. If you're on YouTube, of course, we'll see your name and all of that. If you've got any questions, drop those in the chat box or reply, whatever it is, wherever you are. You guys know us. If you've been on here before, my name's William Tingle. This is my lovely bride, Jody. We're real estate investors and teachers. I've been investing for about 22 years, primarily creative finance and subject to. Done a bunch of other stuff as well. Jody, you want to tell everybody about your experience in investing and what you do?
Well, I've done a few deals myself, but they were I was the one that was afraid of the sub-2 stuff. I thought it was like only crazy people did that, so I stayed away from that until just the last couple of years. I did short sales and bought REOs and flipped them, but
Yeah, that's the hard stuff.
I was new to this. In fact, that's how we met, because I need to learn how to do these sub-2 things. Because
Yep.
Anyway,
You thought I was the house stealer, I think.
I did.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
Morning, Brad. Good to see you from Minnesota. Let's see. We've got some Michigan. Hey, William. This is Phil. Hey, Phil. Good to see you. No, your profile's not showing. So go on over there to, I guess it's StreamYard.com/Facebook and do that. Dana, good to see you.
Authenticate your account.
Yep.
Then we can
Is
see
that what
who's
it's called? That's too
Authenticate.
fancy a word for me.
I might be making that up. It might be called something else.
Good to see you, Dana, from Alpharetta. Man, I bought a bunch of houses in Georgia. You're in a great market down there. Good for you. Farouk's here. Hey, good to see you, Farouk. Good morning. We've got Tracy. We got some of our Max students in here. We're hoping we can get a couple of those guys to jump in here this morning and share some of the things that have helped them with their business.
I see people have been watching our Yankee lessons.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we have to learn how to communicate. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
it's Beaver.
All right, we got Aaron in Philly.
What you
That's
doing
right,
there?
Beaver. Okay. James, gosh, James, you've already got a question for us. In Georgia, when dealing with probate, can the administrator sell the property once they get the letters of administration, or do they have to wait to get the letters of testamentary? I've got to be honest with you, James. I've never been a probate investor. Now, hopefully somebody, I know a bunch that are, but I've never felt comfortable contacting people in probate. I've just and not saying there's anything wrong with it. I know a lot of people make a lot of money with it, but I have never felt very, very comfortable with it. You have any experience with that at all, Jody, or no? Someone personally? Yes.
No, but it's just a thing where you have to have a certain amount of tact with it, just sort of like with foreclosures. I mean, you're dealing with people in a situation. So I haven't done it either, but
Right.
I actually did by accident once. I actually called somebody who had a vacant property, and it was a lady whose son had owned the house, and the son was murdered. And I got really chewed out, and I was really off guard because I didn't know the situation. So
Right.
yeah, that would make me kind of nervous.
Yeah.
About
Hopefully somebody here with experience will say, James says he has a potential sub-2 deal in North Georgia, also probate. I believe they're 15,000 behind in arrears. How should I tell the administrator to get the PITI and all the necessary information? I would just have a conversation with them, let them know what I was trying to do. Sounds like you're already talking to them, so the hard part's out of the way. The great thing, I do know this about probate, the great thing is the guarantor on the loan, their credit and their ability to buy another home is not an issue anymore. So those are two worries that are off the table. If the property is going to be inherited, and we've seen this in cases before where the people that are going to inherit just aren't interested. Maybe they don't have the money to pay up the arrears. There's not a lot of equity. They just want to get it gone. Certainly you can take it subject to. Now, what the law is in Georgia with regard to what the administrator can do, I can't tell you. So you'll have to talk to somebody about that. They should be able, at least once it's been through probate for certain, the heirs can deed it to you, and you can take care of all that just as you would normally. The administrator should probably be able to contact the lender and find out the exact amount of arrears, the amount of the regular payment, and share that with you. And that's really just as simple, I would think, as contacting the lender, explaining that the borrower has passed, and and that they're trying to gather some information so the heirs can bring the loan current and try to reinstate things. The lender should be pretty excited about that. So I would think that's how you do it. Jody's 2022 goal is to turn me into a Yankee. I don't think that's going to happen.
well, I'll work on it.
Not much chance of that. Okay, Tracy says, let's see, I don't know if you can see, but it's Tracy. Yes, Tracy, we can see you. Good to have you here. James is in Loganville, Georgia. Okay, Facebook user Beaver. All right. Hey, Tim, good to see you up there in Maine. How is that rehab going? I know Tim he's a Max student. He just bought a hoarder house, I believe, and I think that they're trying to get that thing squared away. Got a really good deal there. Blaine, Cincinnati. Gosh, James. Good morning, William and Jody. Good morning to you, James. You're going to have to tell us more about that 12 unit that you're looking at. Hey, Allie. Good to see you. Allie Murphy is actually going to be on with us next week as we're trying to finish out the month of January with things to help you grow and scale your business. Allie is a Dispo expert. I think she told me they move about 45 properties a month. And she's going to come on next week and talk about how to use VAs in your business and how to use technical things.
I can't wait.
We're looking forward to that. Gail, I have quite a bit of probate experience. Well, Gail, then you need to get a message to James, or James get one to Gail, and see if you guys can talk a little bit about that. CJC Home Solutions. Okay, he's got some comments here for probates. Question.
Lolita's on.
I'm sorry.
Lolita.
Is it Lolita? Oh, hey, Lolita.
I see Lolita. I was going to ask her if she knows how people can share this video or not. She's the social media expert, and I was wondering if there's a way we can have people share this.
Yeah, listen, invite your investor friends. If you can share, I know you can take a screenshot, share it on your wall. Lolita is the social media expert, though. Maybe she can tell us how to do that. Let's see. Facebook user, I'm not sure who you are. Question, I'm starting to hear more rumblings about demands to clean up the servicing of various investment deals and notes, especially in the escrow realm. Is there some new legislation that hit or rule changes? If you're in Texas, there certainly are new things as of January the 1st with regard to how wraps are handled. Really pretty strong stuff. If you're in Texas, you want to be up to date on that for certain. As far as nationwide, everywhere else, I'm not familiar with anything that's too limiting right now. We do things the same. I do expect, just because of some other things, that there will be more legislation regarding servicing of the notes, as more states say that you have to be licensed to service your own notes. So I still don't do that. I've never had a servicing company, and I've said many times why, so I won't go back into that today. But for certain, servicing may become an issue. But we did talk to somebody actually here on Goat Talk a couple of months ago now. I think Chris was on here, and he was talking about starting up a servicing company. I need to speak to him and see if he's done that. I was impressed with that because his seemed to be affordable, and he's reputable, and I think he would probably do a pretty good job. We'll talk to him about that again. Let's see. Matt Smith's here. Hello, Matt. Good to see you. Cindy. See Jeff. James here. Phil. Good morning. We got to meet Phil last week. That was great.
Yeah.
Phil and
he's much taller than I thought.
Yeah, Phil's a big boy. So.
He's a tall drink of water.
He is. So it was a pleasure meeting him. We hung out with those guys and had a couple of beers, had a good time. Tim says, doing well, getting too old to be doing the work myself. Next one will be more hired out. Good for you. You can do a lot more when you hire that stuff out. We're learning that. We have 2 VAs now. So I've always been sort of a do-it-yourself person, but I'm really liking this VA business. Let's see. Jeff, I just saw your comment before this talking about selling beneficial interest in Texas and filing UCC. Sounds like a great way to do it there and still using a trust. I think so. It can be a little complex for newer investors, but it is a way. And that's what we do. We figure out ways to work around obstacles. That's what we do in our business. Phil, how are you documenting, notifying mortgage interest paid by your buyers for tax return purposes? Well, you should have, if you're doing it yourself, you should have an amortization schedule that'll show you exactly how much your buyer's paying. And then you can have your 1099s filled out and sent out, or you can have a bookkeeper do that for you. Your tax preparer is usually a good choice. Hey, Phil. Yep, we see your name and your profile now, so good for you.
He's official.
Yeah. James talking about his 12-unit lead came from a wholesaler. This deal may not work because it needs over $300,000 of rehab, and rent comps are lower than we expected. Okay. Well, they don't all work out. That's the way it is. But anyway, glad to have all you guys on here this morning. So the topic for today is how to make 2022 the year that you that you break out, that you actually become a real estate investor, that you actually get some things done. Um, Today is January the 13th. I don't know how many of you guys are aware of this, but January 19th is officially Quitters Day. And you guys all know everybody does their New Year's resolutions, but 80% of people that set New Year's resolutions officially quit by January 19th. Now, that's not a number that I made up. That's from Inc. magazine, and a study of over 800 million user logged actions. Okay, 80% of all New Year's resolutions are officially done
Losers.
by the 19th. Isn't that's amazing? But I mean, we see it in this industry too. If you join a gym, you can't get in the first of the year. I'm not usually very guilty of joining a gym, but a lot of people are, and it's hard to get to use any equipment. But by the middle to end of January, it's business as usual. We see it here. A lot of people sign up for things like coaching, or you'll see an increase in the number of courses people buy as they say, hey, this is going to be the year that I make a change. I'm tired of working 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week. I'm tired of working for somebody else. I want to do something differently. Uh, Statistically, and you guys have probably heard this number before, uh, only 3 out of 100 investors who purchase a course, and that's not counting the people that you get on YouTube and take a look at it and say, I can learn here, or go into a free Facebook group, or join 10,000 free Facebook groups. 3 out of 100 that purchase a course or buy training will ever buy a house. It's a pretty sad statistic. And it's actually one of the reasons we retooled just a little bit this year on our coaching program. I had a coach in a coaching group that I'm in last year ask a question: what would it take to get 100% success rate with your students? What would that take? And so there's so many variables with that.
Seems pretty hard to go from 3% to 100%.
Yeah, what can you do? Well, that's so dependent on the student. There's so many traits you need to have in anything to be successful. Why do the vast majority of businesses in general fail? It's for several different reasons. Luke says wholesaling's getting hammered by new laws. Isn't that the truth? I'll tell you, did you guys see that picture that I posted yesterday of where you can buy a 12-pack of pre-approval letters for $69? And there's a reason that those industries are getting hammered. There's a reason, because there's a lot of activity. There was a post in the group the other day by a real estate investor that's doing deals, that's doing things, that said they went on this marketing spree in wholesale groups and said, send me your deals, we'll do this, we'll do that. And they got about 50 deals submitted, but the vast majority of them, like 90% of them, the wholesaler didn't have any idea what a deal was. They were new in the business, and they just didn't have any idea. But anyway, let's move on to this. I read
how to get to 100%.
Yeah, how do we get to 100%? What do we have to do? And like I said, so much of that is dependent on the student. Discipline is super important. How many people have discipline today? I mean, obviously we all, have our vices. We have things that we do that, we could do better, or we should do better. But for me, when I really think about it, and I think back to when I got started in real estate investing, I broke this thing down to about 5 things that you really need to do. Now, this isn't going to be your typical goal setting, rah thing. Okay, we all do that in January. Set your goals, write your goals down. If they're not written down, they're not real, and that's true. But there are a few steps that you need to take, I think, to be successful in this or any business. Number 1 is you have to start with a vision. Okay, a vision of where you want to be, what you want to accomplish, in what period of time. I put an exercise out in our Sub 2 Max group a week or so ago that said, listen, guys, do this January. Write yourself a letter dated for today for you to read in 12 months. You'll read it next January, and talk about all the things that you've accomplished, the things that you want to get done. Hey, Joe, you had a great year. These are all the things that you did, and gave some examples of some things you could put in the letter. I bought X number of houses this year using whatever technique it is that you want to do. I created X amount of cash flow every month, X amount of wealth, X amount of, equity, ensuring my family's financial future. My family and I took 30 days off and went on this incredible vacation this year and went to places we only dreamed about. Write that letter, put it away, read it next year. Think about the things that you need to do. Having a vision can be a lot of different things. A lot of people like a vision board. Have you ever used a vision board, Jody? Anybody
No.
ever used one?
Not like that, no.
Yeah. Some people like to cut out pictures of things, and that's okay if that's what you like to do. For me, it's more of a written sort of thing. These are the things that I want to do this month, this year.
I like a whiteboard list.
Right. A whiteboard is better for me than some people like to cut out pictures and put it next to their bathroom mirror or on their refrigerator or whatever, where they have to see it all the time. And if that works for you, that's fine. I've got students that their dream is to own a Lamborghini. That's never been my thing. When I got started, my vision, and I would tell anyone that asked this, they said, well, why do you like real estate investing? Why do you want to do this? And I said, well, really, I just want to be filthy rich. I want to make so much money. And that's what I thought it was at first. But over time, it was revealed to me that it wasn't really about the money. It was about the freedom. I had worked like a dog since I was 15 years old. And some of you guys know my story and some don't. If you don't, I'll share it with you briefly today. I left home when I was 15. My mother married this guy when I was 12, and his idea of fun was just beating the heck out of us at every opportunity. And after 3 years of that, I decided I was going to leave home. I quit school. I ran away, and I spent the first 3 years hiding out so I wouldn't get picked up by the police and forced to go back home. So I had to work. I had to have jobs and support myself at 15 and do all of that stuff. And I had just worked. I got into the restaurant business. And if you've ever worked in the restaurant business, you kind of get stuck there. So I found myself, 20 years later, making decent money. I lived in Middle Georgia. I made, $60,000 a year, which is pretty dang good money for somebody with a ninth grade education. Okay, in Middle Georgia. But so I couldn't quit and get another job. And I'll tell you, I didn't plan to go into real estate investing, but I had a manager quit. I covered the state of Georgia. That was my job. I was a district manager for the state of Georgia for a restaurant chain. And one of my managers had quit with no notice. So I'm out of town. I'm in a cheap hotel room in Griffin, Georgia. And I'm flipping channels at 2 a.m. And there's a Carlton Sheets infomercial. Okay. So I watched all those yahoos on there talking about, I bought this house, I bought that house, and I bought that house. And I said, well, gee, I'm smart enough. If they can do it, I can do it too. So I ordered the course, and that's how I got into real estate. It wasn't a dream that I'd had for years, man. I want to be a real estate investor. It was a 2 a.m. decision. But once I made that commitment, I said, there's got to be something better, right? And so I just got the course and started doing what he said to do, which at the time, this was 22 years ago. There was no PropStream. There was no online access to tax records. There was barely an internet, Our idea of learning on the internet, we're at a hotel, okay?
What is that?
This guy's dragging this thing through. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So we had news groups. I don't even know if you guys remember those or not, but it's like a chat,
it's like a forum
online, a forum. And we'd go on there and talk about, hey, I heard about this. How do I do that? And people would talk back and forth. That was the extent. We didn't have YouTube. It's last week when everybody's doing all those, everybody's going nuts about PropStream losing MLS data. And I thought, gee, PropStream's only been around for a couple of years. It's great, but my goodness, we used to drive for dollars all week long and go down to the tax office on Tuesday and use their computer to look up the property owner and their new address and
We used
information.
to have to walk uphill both ways back in
Yeah,
the day.
we had to walk. We had to walk to school 3 miles uphill both ways in 6 feet of snow.
That's right.
All right, and that's what we did uh, to become successful investors. Okay, so you had to really work hard. And you want FISBOs. What do we do today? We scrape Zillow and we have somebody else call. When I got started, you want to talk to a FISBO, you either happened up on their sign or you
Right.
pulled out the want ads in the newspaper. And that's how I bought my first 3 houses. So yes, it does work. Let's see, we've got a few comments here. Let's see, I'm getting old, I need glasses.
You need a bigger screen.
Alex says, I was definitely a do-it-yourselfer, but you get to a point where you want to ask yourself, do I want to grow? Do I want to vacation? Am I be able to step away? Absolutely. That is right. So Jeff said, that's what I tell people when they hit a low point and start doubting or shaming themselves. Think about what you have accomplished and overcome in the past that you never thought you could or would do. Okay. Vincent says he's just getting signed up with batch leads. What list do you recommend to pull? We don't use batch leads, Vincent. We use PropStream. If you're going to pull a list from any kind of aggregate like that, I would look for, starting out, I would look for pre-foreclosures. I would look for vacant properties. I would look for vacant with absentee owners. That's probably what I would start with, low equity. Luke says, if folks could just get that first deal, it'd be huge. Once you get a taste, there isn't much that will stop you from getting the next hundreds. Figure out what it takes to get just one win. Tom Brady, I don't know. I liked your comment till you got to that. No, we're not going to talk about Tom Brady. But
there is a certain percentage of people, though, that get their first deal and still don't do any more than that, which I think is kind of interesting. Yeah. They get one, they think it's a fluke, and then they just don't believe it'll work again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the other side of that, but
that's true. CRE online, man, that was the big kahuna way back when. Mm-hmm. And that's where, I got my start and learned a lot of stuff there too. So vision is obviously the first thing that you need. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? That type of stuff. So, and Luke, you bring up an interesting point talking about getting your first deal. I made a post a few days ago asking, what would it be worth for someone to guarantee you a deal? Okay. Work with me for 90 days and I'll absolutely guarantee you that you will buy your first house creatively, or I'll give you your money back. Okay. Is that fair enough? What is something like that worth?
That's a guarantee.
That's a guarantee.
100% you will get a deal.
That's right. All you have, and listen, no fine print, no, there have to be 5 Sundays in the month or any of that stuff.
Right.
Just do what I tell you to do every single day for 90 days. And I guarantee you will buy a house or I will write you a check. And Jody and I were talking about it after. And she said, well, why don't you just give them an extra $1,000 for their trouble? And I thought, you know what, I could do that too, because if we did something like that, there would absolutely be no doubt that you were going to do it if you did everything.
Yeah. So so their money back plus $1,000.
Right.
So that it's a win if they lose even.
Yeah, absolutely. What's that worth? The responses were interesting and I think indicative of people. I did some research after I put that out there, and this is interesting. I'm going to share this with you guys. In 2021, now these aren't old numbers. This is last year. In 2021, the cost for a 4-year degree, the cost for a 4-year degree is somewhere between $35,600 and $120,400. That's a 4-year degree, and it varies, of course, depending on whether you're in-state school, you're out of state. whether you're going to Harvard or, a state school. But the bottom line is to get a 4-year degree right now, and it's more now because this was last year, $35,000 to $120,000. Okay. The average annual income for someone with that 4-year degree is between $24,000 and $96,000. Okay.
And it's not guaranteed.
That's absolutely right. Not only that, the institution that you just spent all that money with doesn't guarantee you're going to get a job at all.
Right.
They give you the education, and that's that. Okay. So think about that for just a minute. When our average profit on a no equity deal, and I've shown you guys this time and time again, is somewhere north of $50,000. You buy 2 of those a year, and you've made more than the average.
But even if it wasn't that, I mean, even if it's $20,000, depending on the cost of that program, you've already got your money back. Even if it wasn't $50,000, even if it was a couple of $5,000 deals,
Yep.
It's still a better return than the college degree.
That's for sure. Okay, so moving on here, because we've only got an hour this morning. I don't want to talk too long about that, but the vision's important. What do you want to accomplish? Okay, that's super important. Next is the plan, of course. Now, how are you going to get there? When you're getting started, you probably don't know what it is you want to do. I remember when I got started, there's so many different things. You wholesale, you lease option, you do creative finance, you do multi-unit, there are a million different possibilities. So you need to have a plan. Okay. You need to spend some time trying to explore things. Are you great with talking to people? To do creative stuff, you don't have to talk to people, but it certainly helps. I tell my students all the time, the very best way to get out there and talk to people in foreclosure, sure, you can mail them a card or you can have someone call them, knock on the door and talk to those people. Everybody in here can't do that, and I get it. I've got a coach that I have on another subject that uses the phrase all the time: the quickest path to cash is a conversation. And that applies certainly in this too. If you can start talking to somebody, you mail somebody a card and they can ignore it. You can call them and they may not answer the phone. If you knock on the door, chances are they're going to answer the door. Most people do. Right. And get that conversation going. But you need to have a plan on what it is that you're going to do and how you want to get that done. Did you have something? You looked like you wanted to say something.
No, not right there.
Okay.
Don't get me started.
And then the next is tools. What tools do you actually need to get started? I'll tell you, people think, going back to what we were talking about earlier about 22 years ago, when we didn't have all this fancy stuff, all these dollars and PropStream and batch leads and all these things. I remember the first time I saw somebody, I think it was probably last year, talking about driving for dollars with Google Maps. And I was like, is that for real? Do people really do that? But I've seen it since, and I guess it works. But what tools do you actually need to be a real estate investor? Remember, going back to that vision and that plan, we teach our students how to create a $500,000 a year income buying 12 houses a year. And I can tell you that you don't need much to buy 12 houses a year. I did all my own calling until very recently. We just really hired a cold caller here in the last couple of months. I'm loving it because he filters them, and I just call the ones that go, yeah, I'm kind of interested in that. So I'm really enjoying that. I should have started doing that a long time ago.
Got rid of all the riffraff.
Yeah. I don't have to listen to any of the abuse. Nobody calls my mama names or anything like that. So, I mean, Harry deals with all that stuff, and he's a great guy. And every day we send him a list, and in the first of the week, and every day he emails me a report that says, I talked to 20 people today, and 10 of them are only open to cash, but the other 10 said they would consider creative finance, and here's their information, and then we call them up. So are VAs important? Listen, I'm loving ours. Otherwise, what tools are important in your business? Unless you're buying 500 houses a year, I would say that you need some type of product like PropStream. PropStream's our preferred product for a couple of reasons. One, it does everything we need. Two, the people that Paul that owned the company until fairly recently, and then people like Burton are just amazing. They're very helpful. In fact, Burton teaches a class in our Max group every month, showing all the newest features and what to do and the best list to pull, and answers questions for our students. So for me, the people is super important. The people behind the product, are they available? Are they accessible? Are they decent human beings? So PropStream are a tool like that, and there's some other ones, Propelio and I guess Badge. I don't know, but we use PropStream, is what we like. A CRM is critical as well. Thinking about way back when I got started, there really weren't anything. My idea of follow-up at best, when I finally figured some things out, was colored postcards. I designed several postcards, and if I got somebody on my radar, every week I would go out and mail the pink or yellow or purple or whatever in the progression. They were all in boxes inside a closet. Now we've got things that are a little bit better. We like we like REI Black Book. And again, going back to the people behind it that you deal with, like Kevin Carroll or Josh Harris, who just did a class for us last night on using Bandit Sides on Wheels. They're accessible, they're great people, and we enjoy working with them. So a CRM is super critical as well. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Now that we've kind of got the hang of it.
Now that we figured it out.
Takes a little bit at first.
Let's see. Luke says he thinks something like that's worth $20,000 or more. I don't know what the number is. We may not even do that, but it's definitely something that we're thinking about. Jeff says the goat must have drank some spiked milk with that guarantee. I don't know. I don't know about that at all, Jeff. I mean, seriously, if you're willing to do the work, I'm telling you, real estate investing is not easy. It is incredibly simple to do. There are really just a few things you need to do on a consistent basis. Consistency is really the key in all of it.
Well, people who do a lot of deals every year, like, how do you think they do them if it's just luck? They do the process or whatever over and over again, and they get deals. It's just proven to work.
Right.
So if you do the steps, and that's what the guarantee is based on, you have to do all the steps.
Right.
If you do all the steps, you can't not get one.
Right. I mean, if you're given an assignment this week to do these 3 things, you have to do those 3 things. Obviously, the guarantee is not good. You can't say, right, well, there was a MASH marathon that I just had to watch.
Right.
And I couldn't go put those bandit signs out. You got to do the work. They're not going to jump out of the car themselves. Now you can hire somebody to do it. We talked about that yesterday too, and I posted a couple of articles from Simple Crew on how you can actually hire people and the ads to use to do it. You can get these things put out for $1 a piece, and I'm telling you.
And you can put them out, but you got to pick up the phone too.
Mm-hmm. That's right. We pulled in this hotel the other night. We went out to dinner, came back. There's this huge white truck sitting out in the parking lot that's got magnetics on the sides and the back.
And it was a local number here. It wasn't like somebody from out of town.
Yep, it was a local number, and I pulled up behind that truck and picked up the phone and called, and got a voicemail that wasn't. It sounded like like
an automated one.
Yeah, sort of voice. It was a lady that said I had called. Who was his name? Michael.
Mike. You've reached Mike's phone or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, Mike, I'm sitting here looking at your truck. and it says you buy houses, and I want to talk to you about that. Give me a call, please. And that was like 3 days ago, and I haven't heard from Mike since.
Right.
It wasn't super late at night. It was about 8 o'clock, I guess, certainly early enough. And he may turn his phone off at 5 o'clock, and that's okay. But he should have been calling me bright and early the next morning, because we all know in the business that if a seller calls you first, they're motivated to some degree, chances are. So, and my message certainly said, hey, I need to talk to you. You buy houses, I need to speak to you. So anyway, Luke's got a good point. Yeah, the education will be a tax write-off. That's right. So not only do you have a guaranteed, you will buy a house, but the education, the amount you spend on it, whatever that amount may be, is a tax deduction. So if you buy that house and you make $50,000 off of it, and let's just throw a number out and say that education was $20,000. Well, I mean, $20,000 of that income, you're not even going to pay any tax on. So, Matt asked, what price were we thinking was fair for something like that? I don't know. You would have to tell me, Matt. And most of the numbers I got were pretty low. So I don't know. Let's see. Vincent said, speaking of pre-foreclosures, is there a faster way to get the list before it gets on those prop stream type websites? You bet, Vincent. And this is another thing that I really like to talk to investors about, and our students certainly. If you're working locally, you need to have somebody down at the courthouse. Now, in a state like Georgia, that's not going to matter much because there's no lis pendens filed at the courthouse. But in most states, there's going to be a notice of default filed. What do they call it in Colorado? I can't remember. NED.
Yeah, the notice of election in demand.
Right. So it's going to be different depending on where you are. Not sure what it is here in California. I've never bought a house in California. Probably won't. We are going to go driving for dollars this week just to see what's out there.
Right.
But
even though we said we'd never buy a house here.
Well, never say never, right?
I know, right?
Get somebody down at the courthouse every day pulling those, because that's how all of these list services get that stuff. They've got somebody down there generating that stuff. Now, in a lot of states now, you can get it online. I know we used to look online in Colorado, and you get the latest stuff filed there every day. You don't have to go to the courthouse anymore. But you pull that stuff, you head out to that house, knock on the door, talk to your seller, and find out what's going on. Of course, you can send them a card or letter if you want to, but
in person is better.
Yeah, in person's always better. Mark, hey, good to see you, Mark. You may have to review this about once a week. Good fundamentals. I know people just forget. Luke says people find a way to pay for Netflix or that new iPhone, but do not do deals. That is exactly right. I saw a post the other day, and it actually circulated a lot, as people like to share it, that says you're not going to get ahead by canceling your Netflix or foregoing that Starbucks every day or whatever it is. You're not going to get ahead by doing that stuff. And I understand where that's coming from. It's not about cutting back. It's about creating abundance and expecting that. But when you're getting started, let's go back to when I got started again, for example. I made a decent income, but I was like 95% of Americans. I spent every penny that I made. I was married, had 2 kids. And we lived in a house that we could barely afford. And part of my planning and getting to where I wanted to be, I said, okay, I can continue to work and invest. And how long will it take me to be able to quit my job? If my expenses are $5,000 or $6,000 a month, look at how much income I have to generate from investing to be able to quit my job. And I said, okay. So it seems to me to be the fastest way to leave my job sooner and really accelerate my real estate investing is to lower my expenses as low as they can go. So what did we do? We didn't buy a new car that year. We sold our house and moved into an apartment. We cut our cable. We cut back everywhere we could. And believe it or not, we cut our expenses almost in half. That allowed me to leave my job in 12 months and invest full time. And we all know what happens when you go from part-time investing to full-time. Your investing income doesn't double, I mean, it goes through the roof because all you're doing is spending all your time investing. So is it worth it to give up some things for a little while? I go back to one of my favorite quotes, and I can't even remember who said it now.
Well, a million people have said it by now.
Yeah, a billion people. If you
Right.
do for a short time what other people won't, you can do for the rest of your life what others can't.
Yep.
Okay. And we actually, when Josh and I were on the phone, on the Zoom yesterday, when he taught that class for our group, he said, "What do you guys do?" And I said, "Well, we've been on a road trip since July the 1st." You know what I mean? We've been to New Orleans and Mississippi and Wyoming,
Montana,
Oregon,
yeah.
and everywhere that we wanted to go. We said, where you want to go next? And we just did that. And
Because we
we,
joke about being homeless.
yeah, well, yeah, Jody says we're homeless, but it's a good kind of homeless, I
Right.
think. If
Not to
we,
make fun of homeless people, but it's just, we don't
right,
actually
right,
have an actual like home base right now.
right. And we've stayed in some pretty nice hotels, and we've stayed in some pretty awesome corporate apartments, because of investing and because we're able to live the lifestyle that we want to live. So, um, you know, it's really in the planning, in the execution, in the consistency. Okay, let's see. What is a lot of deals a month to you? I've noticed some of my coaching groups, the coaches who do a lot of deals, 6 to 8 a month. Matt, you can do 6 to 8 a month if you want to. The most houses I've ever bought in a single month was 7. Okay. That was when I was in Georgia. It was a lot of work. You got to remember, I was I was a do it all guy. Okay. We closed them all there. I mean, I marketed. I didn't have VAs. That was several years ago. I'm telling you, I can't imagine unless you really want a high dollar lifestyle. I can't imagine buying more than a couple of houses a month. I just can't do it for a lot of reasons. You can do that and still have a lot of freedom. You could probably do it without a VA and make your own calls. The market has dictated that you have to do a lot more calling and a lot more marketing right now. Okay. In a normal market, one house, 2 houses a month is all you need to create $1 million a year income. And like I said, it goes back to your vision. What do you want? Do you want to have a private jet? Do you want to have a house in the mountains, a house on the beach, a house in Europe? I mean, if you want that kind of lifestyle, you might need to buy a little bit more. But
Well,
for
I was going to say, and it depends too. I mean, I knew a guy that he only did 3 deals a year, but he made $200,000 a year because he did big high dollar homes and did rehabs on them, and he just did 3 projects a year. So it depends on what you're doing.
I agree.
So
So Vincent asks, let's see, how did you find your VA? The two that we have working for us right now, we got both of them on Fiverr, believe it or not. But you kiss a lot of toes, I'm telling you. And we've used Upwork, and I've used Fiverr. I will tell you this though: these last two that we hired, I went in and made a custom job description and said, "This is what I'm looking for." And I probably went through 50 of each type. One was for a cold caller. One was for just a general VA to do just admin type stuff and posting and this and that. And I really we probably spent 2 weeks screening people. And so far they're both working out really well. We're super, super happy with one and pretty happy with the other one, I would say. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
I'm not sure which one you mean. Actually, I think they're both doing pretty good.
Yeah.
The cold
The
caller,
general VA, we're loving this guy,
yeah,
right? The caller is doing a really good job, and
right.
that's not all on him.
But
I mean, some of
we
it's
just got to work out the kinks. I think
right,
they're both doing great.
right, yeah. Okay, so Phil says whatever price you charge, uh, it's a screaming deal. Education's prices. Appreciate that, Phil. We do. Phil's one of our Max students.
Phil, we're going to send you a bill for $300,000, just so you know.
Cassie says, what are your thoughts on wholetailing? Would you incur 2 closing costs doing that? And could you buy it in a land trust? Wholetailing, if gosh, there's so many new terms now in creative real estate. If what you're saying is you get something under contract and then you're going to sell it retail, Cassie, the way that I would do this if I were wholetailing, which is not something that we do, well, actually, we've got one under contract now that we're considering that for the Peoria. I think that's the one that we talked about doing that with. I would get it under contract with my seller. I would obviously, the way that I would handle that, I would get a power of attorney from my seller where I could list it on the MLS. And I don't see a reason to have 2 closing costs. I would have a consulting fee, or you can call it whatever you like, but that's probably how I would have that broken down. Yeah, depending on where you are, in certain states and different wholesaling laws, you may have to have 2 closings. I would think that you could probably just do it that way. Make sure there's a disclosure for your seller that lets them know that you're probably going to sell this house and make a profit, and that they're okay with that. And then I would list my profit. In other words, if I had it under contract for 50 and listed it on the MLS for 100, I would make sure that they understood I would be making a profit, but I would be paying all closing costs and all fees. And you may have some sellers that have a problem with seeing you make that profit, but by the time you pay MLS fees and closing costs and everything else, I mean, you're not going to make $50,000, obviously. That's probably the way that I would try to handle it and not do a double closing. Okay, let's see. Mark's comment, very helpful story. Never heard your specific story. Very interesting. Cut your expenses in half. Able to quit your job in 12 months. Listen, and that's just a short-term thing, guys. I've talked to students before in the past. Jody and I have talked about this, where you try to tell them, listen, you're spending way more than you're making. You need $1,000 a month for marketing. Here's how you'll get it, where you can build a business and leave this life in 12 months. And they're, oh no, I deserve this specific car. I deserve to be able to have this golf club membership. I work really hard. I deserve these things. Okay, well, keep getting them. You know, you're living the life you're going to live. If you're not willing to sacrifice for a short time, you're probably not going to be able. And that may not be the case. If you're already living below your means, you've got money for marketing, you can do things, then you don't have to cut back. We're talking about people that are like 95% of the population that are spending every dime they make. They have nothing in savings, and they want to make a change. Yeah, it may be a little bit painful for a little while. I remember when we did this, when we sold our house way back and moved into that apartment, and the people we went to church with and stuff would ask my ex all the time, when are y'all going to buy a house? Why are y'all in this apartment? Blah, blah, blah. And they looked down. I'd go pick up my youngest at daycare at the church, driving my old 1985 Chevy Blazer that needed paint and all that stuff. And they would, make that face. But then 2 years later, when we bought a big house and drove a nicer car, they'd say, what do y'all do again now? What is it that you're doing? Because all of a sudden it was interesting now. Okay, we did for a little while what they wouldn't. All right, so anyway.
So Carlos, did you read Carla's question? Did we talk
about
that?
I'm sorry, did you put one up?
Yeah, it was, she just wanted to know if we trained the VAs. And I would say,
did you
kind of. I mean,
I
tried to find somebody who knew, a lot of basics. And then we had to fine tune them to what we wanted. So yeah, you're going to probably always have to train them a little bit, I think.
That's my recommendation. Exactly what you said. Find somebody that has, like our cold caller had cold calling experience. We wrote his script for him though and said, this is what we're looking for. This is how we want you to take these people. And told him, we want the list every day. We want the recordings. We want this and that. And I shared something with you guys a few weeks ago about having your VA actually do their work on Zoom.
Yeah.
where you can, you
For
can
a while anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can have your screen up and they're doing their work. You're listening to, like the cold caller's case, we're listening to his calls. We hear what he says. We're able to critique him immediately for the first few days. And we also, get a feel for, how he handles objections and things like that. Now, our other VA, it was more a case of we pay him by the hour. So it's more a case of seeing what he's getting accomplished. He's not just surfing on Facebook. He's actually doing our work for X amount of hours per day. But you can also
Well, and
get,
it's also helpful in case you have somebody who wants to like cheat the clock and things like that. So you get to kind of monitor what they're doing, just like they were if they were working in your home office at your, across the room. So you can kind of see what they're doing. I think it's the best idea we ever had.
okay. Matt asked if we got rid of our Colorado home.
Yes, we did for now.
Yeah, we're homeless. Dana said, have you ever kept any of the properties you got? My first 12 years of investing, Dana, yes. I had Section 8 rentals, regular rentals. I did lease options, seller financing. In 2010, I made a complete change in business. You know that saying some people have, if I could only start over. Well, I mean, I got a divorce and I started over. And, I had an opportunity to change things. And what I did was made a big list of what I liked about real estate, what I didn't like about real estate, what worked, what didn't work, and went to a model of only buying subject to and only selling with seller financing, period. That's all I do. That's all I want to do. It's easier. I don't own any real estate. I own a lot of notes. So that's what we like. Okay, let's see what we got here.
Tracy said she's liking the Facebook ads.
Oh, who?
Tracy Hall.
Likes Facebook ads?
No, I'm assuming. She said, "Did you have someone video something for you?" Is she seeing your ad?
I'm not sure what she's talking about.
I'm not either, actually. That's why I was.
We just started with Facebook ads yesterday. I put up a test one. It started running. It's the last time I looked at it, it had I think 50 impressions and one click or something. I don't know. These are for
Maybe Tracy saw it.
Oh, she did?
Maybe.
Is
It must be
Tracy in Tennessee? Didn't we do it for I think we did it for Tennessee.
Oh, I can't. I don't. Yeah, you're right. It was Tennessee.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she's
Kevin,
thinking of somebody else.
Kevin says success is the silencer of critics. Isn't that the truth? I know Carla and I talked about getting that shut up check. That first check when you're, if your partner, your spouse isn't quite on board.
It sounds so harsh.
Yeah. Well, it's the truth, isn't it? Let's see. Did you say you went through 15 or 50? We didn't actually go through those VAs. We screened that many to pick the ones that we did.
Just like read their application or their whatever they sent you, the proposal. Yeah.
There's Tracy's question. I'm liking the Facebook ads. Did you have someone video something for you? If you're talking about how to set it up, we're working on something right now for you Mac students about showing you how to set up Facebook ads. So we're working on something for that right now. Tracy's looking to sell her home. Okay, guys, we're running over, and I've still got 2 more items to tell y'all about. So let's do that. The fourth one after what tools do you need is focus. I had a conversation with a couple of students recently who were wanting to do a specific model, but in talking with them, they were all over the place. They were marketing for different types of deals. You really have to focus on what it is you want to do. Let's say that you want to follow the 12 Houses to Freedom model. Then you're looking for sellers with houses of a specific age, houses in a specific condition, a specific type of seller in a lot of cases, someone that bought the house. Normally it's fairly recently. They had a situation come up, whether it's divorce, foreclosure, or job transfer, whatever the case may be. We're targeting houses in specific neighborhoods a lot of times. So if that's what we're targeting, then that's what we need to be looking at. We're not looking at junk houses. Somebody calls you with a junk house, have a plan for dispo in that, whether you get it under contract and wholesale it, whatever you do. but that's not going to be something that you're going to want to buy. My grandfather used to have a saying about, he said, you can't polish a turd. Okay.
He's the one that invented that saying?
He used to say it. I don't know if he
I know,
invented it or not.
I'm just kidding.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I'm not, and that's one reason that we're talking about wholesale in this deal. We're talking about earlier in Peoria. That house
Right.
needs $15,000 to $20,000 worth of work, and that's just not something I'm into. Okay, there's the good thing about it is,
especially from across the country.
right, is it appears to be significant equity in the house. I mean, we've got it under contract for in the 70s, and it looks like preliminary numbers. We haven't actually got a comp from a agent yet, but it looks like it's worth 140, 150. So we may wholesale that. That may be the way that we go with it. But you have to focus on whatever it is that you want to do, and be very specific. I catch a lot of crap from time to time about being a one-trick pony, and that's okay. I like my trick. All right. Doctors, general practitioners make X a year. Specialists make X. Okay.
That's right.
And it's always more.
I don't know why people bash that pony.
I know. One trick pony. Will your pony work in any environment? My trick will. Okay. If you're a wholesaler, when the market tanks and it's cyclical, it's coming. We don't know when. It may be next week. It may not be for another 5 years, and that's cool. But when it does, wholesaling is going to go away pretty much for a while. Short sales are going to come back for a while. But I guarantee you, I can buy houses subject to and sell them with seller financing. It does not matter. I can do it. Okay. And the final item today, since we're at an hour now, is taking action. It's probably one of the most important parts. All of these parts are important, but taking action, consistently following the plan. Okay. You got the vision for what you want to do. You plan what it's going to take to get you there. You get or acquire the tools that you need to help you do it. You focus on that one thing, and then you take massive, imperfect action.
Because if you do all the other steps and you don't do the action, it's just nothing.
Yeah.
It's just nothing.
Massive, imperfect action. Don't wait until you know everything. Okay. I'm on all the email lists out there, guys. I get all the marketing lists too. And for some reason now, everybody's on you absolutely have to have this LLC. Call these people, the most expensive people in the world, to get you an LLC, and they'll get you all set up. I got you the hookup, blah, blah, blah. Okay. LLC, do you need it? At some point. Don't worry about asset protection until you got assets. I bought my first 4 houses in my name with no trust, believe it or not. Okay. And I made it. I survived. I'm sitting here in Bakersfield, California today. I'm not in jail. Everything went okay. Buy houses. Don't let, gosh, I can't call any sellers yet. I haven't come up with the perfect name for my LLC.
Or I don't have business cards.
I can't decide. Should my business cards be orange or gray? And I need that glamour shot for it, right? I need to look like a realtor. No, you don't. My business cards for years and years and years have been fluorescent, screaming orange, and said, I buy houses with my phone number, period. And you know why they're
magical
that horrible color. Yeah. So somebody can see them from a mile away. If I lay 2 or 3 down on a countertop or on an end cap in Walmart, they just draw your attention. My picture's not on it. Nobody wants to look at me anyway. They want to know what I can do. Okay. So that's it, guys. We hope this was helpful. If y'all have any comments, let us have them. Brad said he enjoyed listening to us. So easy to listen. Straight talkers. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate the heck out of that.
Yeah.
When I first started flipping, I would get leads and freak out and basically talk them out of selling to me. Absolutely, Matt. That's for sure. Afraid to talk to people, for sure.
But I'm sure you get past that.
Mm-hmm.
You just keep doing it. Yeah. It's just like, we always bring Carla up because she's like, such a good example, but she just did it. She made some mistakes and then she tweaked him and straightened things out, and now she's doing just so great.
If you guys haven't watched
Phil, the
If you,
sparkly talk.
if you haven't watched our podcast with Carla, we just did it a couple of weeks ago. Go watch that. Carla is great. I mean, she's going to be just a real. She's a real doer. She's going to be a fabulous investor. She already is. Um, but how everything can go wrong, and you still come out smelling like a rose. I mean, it's just it's an awesome podcast. You can go find it on YouTube. You can find it on Apple. And hey, listen, while you're at Apple, if you go, give us a 5-star review. We would really love that. It helps more people find it. So, recap. Somebody asked for a recap. Have a vision of what you want to accomplish. Okay. Plan what you're going to do to make that vision a reality. Get the
Watch
tools.
the replay.
Get the tools.
You don't want just the recap. You want all this stuff. It's good.
Right. Focus on what it is. Don't be distracted. Don't be a squirrel. Okay. I joke with Jody all the time about the squirrel. Okay.
That's
Don't
me.
get distracted. Focus on what you're doing.
And if you're very distracted like me and you're not, what was the other word we used? Not very disciplined, you should marry somebody who is, because that helps.
And take massive action, guys. Okay, massive action. If we can help in any way, just let us know. You can comment below the video. If you're in the Sub2 forum, send us a message. Email us, gosh, we're William or Jody at sub2deals.com. You can get in touch with us 1,000 different ways, and we'll be glad to help you out. So
I wanted to explain why Phil said the sparkly talk thing.
Okay.
When we met with Phil last week, I told him about how when William starts talking all about real estate and all these like ingenious, scenarios and everything, I said, it's like he's got little sparkles all over. It's like he's just like sparkling. So I think that's the new thing.
I don't know about the sparkly.
Sparkly William.
I do love real estate.
When the genius starts, all the sparkles start.
I get excited about real estate.
I know you do.
Anyway.
I know you do.
All right, guys. You know what you need to do? Put this stuff in action. Get out there, talk to sellers, buy houses. Okay. And we will see you guys next week. Y'all, Allie's going to be with us next week. She's going to talk about hiring VAs, all the VA questions. We know this much. She knows this much about hiring VAs. So make sure.
Yeah.
She's with us next week. So
totally.
You guys go out there, talk to some sellers, and buy some houses. We'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.